What's going on, everybody? My name is Aiden and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be talking about and asking the question of, do the Chicago Bulls have any untouchable players? Now, at the end of the day, what I mean by this is that, is there any player on this team that cannot be traded under any circumstance, will not leave the Chicago Bulls team under any circumstance, and ultimately guarantees their future here in this Bulls team? For example, the LeBron James of the world. How often do they get traded? Very rarely, if ever. And again, LeBron's pretty much picked every team he's wanted to go to. Kevin Durant, how often does he get traded? Very rarely ever. Guys like Luka Doncic, guys like Steph Curry, guys like Devin Booker. These type of players, these type of elite caliber players, do the Bulls have any potential players that can reach that level that can become untouchable or are untouchable because of that reason? Just in general, do we have any untouchable players? And I guess, will we ever get some untouchable players for the Chicago Bulls? But before we get any further, if you liked the video and you want to see more from me, drop a like, drop a follow, and or subscribe if you are new. And let me know in the comments below your thoughts about which players do you believe are untouchable for this Bulls team, if any, and ultimately, can any of the players that we currently have now become untouchable players? These are quite interesting things, in my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, because it does determine the type of level that we are at. But here's my ultimate answer I guess, to the question: do the Chicago Bulls have any untouchable players? Not one. Not one player on this Bulls team is untouchable to me, which means, unfortunately, we don't really have a good enough player that superstardom really excels and is beyond, I guess, trading. But it also means that, as of now, I don't think there's anyone really on this Bulls team that could potentially get to that level. Maybe with the exception of Matisse Thybulle, but outside of him, I truly feel like everybody on this Bulls team is tradable. Now, just because I feel that way doesn't mean that there are players that can't get to that stage where they're almost untouchable, or are relatively close to that stage where they are untouchable. But our best players right now are the players that we are trying to get rid of. And I think that speaks volumes to where the Chicago Bulls currently are at this point in time. We're trying to go down a different direction, so that does mean that Zach LaVine is, tradable. We can trade him. We probably can't because there's no buyers at the moment, but he is a tradable asset. Vucevic is a tradable asset. You got most of that starting five is a tradable asset. Kobe, even, as much as I love Kobe White, I think if the right deal comes in for Kobe White, you'd be foolish not to take it. And same with guys like Io, Patrick Williams, and the list goes on. I feel like everybody on this team is a tradable asset if the right team and if the right price comes around. And that is the harsh reality of things with the Chicago Bulls now, ladies and gentlemen. And ultimately, we just don't have that superstar caliber player like a Luka Doncic or a Stephen Curry or a Giannis Antetokounmpo, or, again, the list goes on in that department, and Nikola Jokic, whoever it may be, that is simply beyond trading. Right now, we just don't have that caliber of player. Now, the question is, can a player on this Bulls team get to that stage? Well, look, you can't judge based on the future entirely, but I do think there are a couple of players that might be able to get to that stage where you just can't fathom the idea of trading them. Kobe White was the most improved candidate for the Chicago Bulls. If he can get sort of that Jimmy Butler level of progression, when Jimmy Butler won that most improved award, he became a superstar. We did end up trading him, which is funny, but ultimately for a lot of those years he was considered untouchable. Maybe Kobe White could get to that stage. I still think Io could get to that stage. Matisse Thybulle, we just don't know what he's going to look like at the NBA level. He could pretty much come into the first season of the Chicago Bulls and become an untouchable player. And at the end of the day, you just don't know. But as of now, where I sit and where I really think about this team and analyze this team, everybody, in my opinion, has a price. Everybody is tradable, and I think there's almost every team in the NBA, if they really wanted one of our players, they could go and get them. That's how I feel. Now, ultimately, the future will determine a lot for the Chicago Bulls. And this is why I'm making this video now. Because, yes, I do believe all of our players pretty much have that price. But the goal for the Bulls now, especially if they're trying to aim to go younger, is to find that cornerstone piece. Is to find that player that you truly feel will be untouchable going forward. That player that you can see yourself building around. That player that can help you win a championship. That is the goal for the Chicago Bulls, to find that player. Unfortunately, over the last couple of years, what we've considered untouchable players are players that, yes, are good, but players that have been kept around based on their name value more than anything, based on their maybe jersey sales, based on the fact that they are, very popular, but ultimately are not necessarily defined by the fact that they win championships or anything like that. And eventually, those untradeable players do get traded at some point when, obviously, things start to die down. Maybe the player is getting a little bit older and we have to cash in on him just so we can save our future. I don't know what it is, but we haven't really had an untradeable player, an untouchable player since Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and the likes of those players. Maybe MVP D Rose, when he was at his best, was an untouchable player, someone that we wouldn't fathom trading, but ultimately, unfortunately, we've seen what happened with him. Almost everybody on this Bulls team for the past 20 years has been a tradable asset, has been a player that, we can fathom seeing and losing. And it hasn't changed until now. It hasn't changed. It's still to this day, it hasn't changed. So that's what the Bulls need to try and find. They need to try and find that superstar player that can be an untouchable asset, that could also be a player that you could build your franchise around. This is also a reason why it's so important to keep our top 10 pick, ladies and gentlemen, and that we don't see it be conveyed to the San Antonio Spurs. We want that pick. We need that pick. And we need that pick because it helps us find that cornerstone piece. I'm sure you guys are well aware of this. Maybe it's something that I can bring to your attention. We are not a good free agency team. We're not. We can find that B-level player that can come in and be the second or third option on a championship team, but we ain't getting Kevin Durant in free agency. We ain't getting, I guess, the LeBron James of the world in free agency. We ain't getting the best of the best in free agency. We haven't. I don't think we've ever done something like that. I mean, list the player. Maybe I'm wrong. But MJ we drafted, D Rose we drafted, all of our great players, for the most part, we have drafted in the NBA draft. So we're not a good free agency team. History has shown us that. Can that change? Ultimately, I guess it depends on the player that wants to come here. If Nikola Jokic says, you know what, I want to move to Chicago, well, of course, we're going to take that opportunity. We'll become a great free agency team if that comes around. But so far, it's not been in our repertoire. So that's why the top 10 protected pick is important. That's why you have to try and find your cornerstone piece, and you probably need to find it in the NBA draft. As difficult as that may be, as low of a chance as it will be to actually find your cornerstone piece there, you have to try, and you need to get it right. That's the only way the Bulls are going to be successful in the future. So, to sum things up, yes, the Bulls players, all of them can be traded. Even the ones that we so desperately like Kobe White. I think he's a fan favorite now after last season. I think if the right price comes in and the right assets come in, the Bulls could trade Kobe White if they wanted to. He is definitely not an untouchable asset. The way that I see it, we don't have an untouchable asset. We haven't had an untouchable asset in many, many years. And we need to try and find our next one, because that's where probably the success is going to lie for the Chicago Bulls. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments below, and thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for more. Take care, and peace.